Now that Gautam Gambhir has been chosen as the new head coach of the Indian cricket team, there are a few players who will be sweating about their place in the side. And let's get right into it because number one on that list is Rishabh Pant. Love Rishabh Pant, has been one of the best batters in Test cricket for sure. 500s, 1150s. He's got 2,271 runs in just 56 innings, averaging close to 44. And with a strike rate of 74, I think in Test cricket, there's very little doubt that he's our best wicket-keeper batter going around. But when it comes to limited overs cricket, the numbers are a little disappointing for sure, especially in T20s. You see, in 64 innings, he does not even average 23. His average is just 22.7 and his strike rate is 126.55. In 64 innings, he has scored only 350s for India. So that's not good enough, love.
That isn't good enough. And Siddhant, here's the thing. You remember when Rishabh Pant first burst onto the scene? Everyone thought that he's going to take T20 internationals by storm. But then it was the other way around, like you just mentioned, that he took Test cricket by storm, but then got blown away as far as T20 internationals are concerned. You just mentioned his overall numbers. I'll quickly tell what he has done in recent T20 internationals. Because you remember when he came back in the T20 World Cup, all of us thought that it's going to be a different story. And he started off very well.
Yeah.
But then again, we saw the Rishabh Pant of the older times, if I may call it that way. And the numbers are disappointing. Here are the numbers. So in last 16 knocks in T20 internationals, he has scored just 275 runs at an average which is below 20. His strike rate is 127. He hasn't scored any 50s and 100s during this period as well. And even if you look at his overall numbers, like you just told, just has 3 half centuries. And I seriously doubt that how did a player like
Such a
Rishabh
long
Pant,
rope he has got.
exactly, and he has played over 70 T20 internationals. That's bizarre.
And let's not forget what Gautam Gambhir himself had said about Rishabh Pant in 2022. Yes, if you remember, Gautam Gambhir in 2022 had pointed out that he doesn't think Rishabh Pant deserves a place in India's limited overs side. He said, yes, in Test cricket, he's really good. Right. He should be there, but in limited overs cricket, he doesn't deserve a place. But those were the comments before the accident. You remember the horrifying car accident that Rishabh Pant had. This was all said before that. In fact, just before the T20 World Cup, Gambhir had bagged Rishabh Pant to be India's wicketkeeper batter in the T20 World Cup. Right. And he was expecting good things from him. But going by form and going by his numbers, I think the sample is too big. 64 innings is a lot.
It is.
And still, if you're not averaging, your average is less than 23, that's not good enough.
Isn't good enough at all. Let's move forward, Siddhant. The next player who is on the list,
Number two
is Shubman Gill. While many of you might think that a player of that caliber doesn't deserve to be on a list where you are discussing about players who can be dropped, but then this is merely in T20 internationals. I'll tell you a number which will tell a very sorry story, Siddhant. He actually scored his last T20 international 100 in February 2023. Since then, he has played 10 innings in the shortest format for India and has 7 single-digit scores. Seven single-digit scores for a batsman like Shubman Gill. I think he is just occupying a place in that lineup. If you take a look at a regular Indian side as well, I think it doesn't feature in that. He wasn't a part of the T20 World Cup as well.
Was part of the reserves.
It was part of the reserves, yes.
But now with Abhishek Sharma, I think, and there's also another guy we keep forgetting about, Ruturaj Gaikwad is also part of the squad. So we have so many openers, and if you don't perform, even though he might be captaining India and Zimbabwe, he might be left out.
Absolutely, and I'll quickly tell you what Shubman Gill has done in those previous 10 innings in T20 internationals. That is, he has scored 166 runs. He has averaged 16.6. His strike rate is just 120. For a batter who is opening the innings in power plays, a strike rate of 120 isn't good enough. It isn't close to being good enough. He hasn't scored 100 as we mentioned, and he has scored just 150 during those 10 innings. So I think he might just face the axe, even though he's captaining India in that Zimbabwe series. But then he hasn't started off that series very well. So I think one player that might be dropped from T20s after Gambhir takes over is going to be Shubman Gill.
Perhaps again. So Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant before that. Now number three on our list is KL Rahul. A lot of you would say that he was not even part of the side in the T20 World Cup. But let me tell you that he was in contention when the selectors press conference happened, where Rohit and both Ajit Agarkar were there. They talked about why they left out KL Rahul despite him scoring a few runs in T20s. They said they are looking at a middle order batter rather than an opener. But now with Rohit Sharma gone, Rahul probably had a chance, but going by his form and going by his numbers, and especially with the kind of, like, we are spoiled for choices, right?
True.
In terms of opener, I think Rahul also will face the axe, and it's likely that he will only represent India in Test and ODIs moving forward, and T20s. That's it. I don't think we'll see any more of him in T20 cricket for India.
Right. Siddhant, I think strike rate is a big concern when you talk about KL Rahul. Yes, when he started off playing for India, he was this player who used to blast bowlers, but then suddenly went into a shell, and we got that statement from him where he said that strike rate is overrated. But I think in today's day and age, when
It's not. It's not.
at all
I think
overrated.
strike rate is really the need of the hour.
It is.
Even a guy like Virat Kohli was trying hard, in those previous first few matches in the T20 World Cup. Even though he faltered, but he was trying hard to score those quick runs. That is how important strike rates are now. So I think strike rates are not overrated anymore, Mr. Rahul. And unfortunately, I think that's cost you your place in the side, and probably that's it. We're not going to see more of him in T20 international.
I think that's going to be the case. I'll quickly throw in one stat here because I want you guys to have a little perspective about what he has done in T20
strike rate. Give me the
internationals
strike rate.
recently. So here are the numbers. So in last 10 T20 international knocks, Rahul has scored 247 runs at an average of 27. His strike rate is just 123. And let me tell you, he has scored, Siddhant, 4 half centuries during this period. But then those 4 half centuries accumulate for 207 runs.
Out of
10. So that means he has scored just 40 runs in the rest 6 innings.
In the 6 innings.
So that tells you a story, right? That consistency is a big issue with him. And
I think the strike rate is a bigger issue.
Right. Even though you have scored 4 half centuries, imagine a guy having a strike rate of around 120.
Right.
You're eating up balls, yeah.
Number 4 on our list is Shardul Thakur. And Love is going to tell you why he features on this list.
Absolutely. I think most of the people will agree with us when we say that Shardul Thakur is one cricketer who might just fade away once Gambhir takes over the charge of this Indian cricket team. Remember, Shardul Thakur was a part of the Indian squad in that ODI World Cup as well. But then he failed to make an impact, and no one remembers actually what Shardul Thakur has done in the previous matches, right? But we are going to tell you what he has exactly done. So here are the numbers. So in last 8 ODIs, Shardul Thakur has managed to take just 7 wickets. 8 matches में 7 wickets, and he has averaged 46. Siddhant, 46. His economy
with the ball. Let's specify that.
With the ball, yes, because he bats as well sometimes. And he has an economy rate of 6.5. So in the last 8 ODIs, he has been wicketless in 3 matches and has got just 1 solitary wicket in 4 games. In just 1 match, he has managed to take 3 wickets. I think, Siddhant, these are very solid numbers.
Average numbers.
I think it's below average.
Below average. I also remember my problem with Shardul Thakur is he hasn't featured for his IPL franchisee also, for that matter, because his economy rate is on the higher side. He played a few games, yes, for CSK, but considering how he was a mainstay in all other teams in the past and how he was such a key player for Team India, I think Shardul Thakur's form has taken a big hit, and his economy is the biggest problem. He might have won a game for your KKR, if I'm not wrong, with a 50. With a 50 he scored.
But that was the last thing I remember.
But last thing you remember, I also remember him getting smashed here and there, everywhere during that game against New Zealand when Michael Bracewell scored that 100 against us.
I remember. Also,
I think he did well towards the end of that innings, but Shardul, let's be honest, I think his time was also. You did not think that he's going to be part of this Indian team in the future beyond a point, but after the after the ODI World Cup, after the ODI World Cup in 2023, I think that's the last we saw of him in the ODIs also for now.
True.
Okay, so next, number 5, and number 5 might shock a few of you because it is Ravindra Jadeja. You see, Ravindra Jadeja has already announced his retirement from T20 internationals, but we feel that even in ODI cricket, his numbers really haven't done him justice. Like the kind of player we expect him to be for India, we haven't seen that from him in 2023. Let me give you an example for ODIs because we are talking about how he might not feature for the ODI team next. In 17 innings, He was not out 7 times, by the way, for India in 2023, and his strike rate was still only 75. I think that tells you that the number of runs he might have scored
Yeah.
may be good enough, but 75 strike rate with the kind of ODI cricket now we see, where teams, go hammer and tong right from the start till the very end. I think 75 strike rate is not good enough. In terms of bowling also, he got a 5-wicket haul against South Africa in the ODI World Cup, if you remember. I think it was 5 for 32 or 33 runs, something he got against South Africa. But the bigger issue was that he went wicketless in the semis and the final.
Yeah.
So I think Ravindra Jadeja might not feature. At least that's what we feel. Right, love?
I mean,
I know you have so much love for Ravindra Jadeja.
The rock
if he's
star.
a rock star, if you remember.
I mean, I'm just happy that yes, he retired from T20 internationals, because had he not, this would have ended up on a different level. This discussion,
Because his numbers in T20s also aren't that great.
That's-
We agree. Yeah.
don't just say aren't that great. I mean, great
know,
shouldn't be associated with him when you talk about Jadeja and T20 internationals. I mean,
I have nothing more to add anymore.
I mean, I completely agree with the fact that yes, when it comes to Test cricket, you need players like Ravindra Jadeja more for his batting. Because in foreign conditions, he actually
done well.
becomes
He has
your
done really
number
well.
one all-rounder, and he might not just might. I think he plays ahead of Ravichandran Ashwin as well in Test.
Yeah.
So he will be a key player in Test cricket. But then I think his days are numbered in ODIs as well, because there's a very big crop of youngsters that have come up. And when you talk about someone like an Akshar Patel, I think he should be the one who should be given more chances in ODIs as well.
Could be. Even though Akshar Patel's numbers are also that not
Yeah,
that
but then
great.
he has age by his side.
Yeah, he's 5 years younger than Ravindra Jadeja.
Exactly.
He's 30, Jadeja is 35. And yeah, I think we'll see more of Akshar Patel going forward over Ravindra Jadeja
Absolutely.
on the Indian side. So yeah, that was our list. I'm sure some of it you will agree with, some of it you might not. But let us know in the comments what you think of our 5, and probably you have other choices in your head that you think might be left out of this Indian side once Gautam Gambhir takes over. Love, anything more to add for you?
I think that would be.
I think
I'm
just say
happy that,
subscribe.
Absolutely. Obviously, those who are watching and liking our videos, come on, guys. If you like a content, you have to subscribe to that, right? And you have to also like the video you like. You see what I did there?
Yes.